I'm back. Rodrance for Black and White Network. If you're new to the channel, punch subscribe, like, comment, share this out. You guys know what's up. So we're going to talk about Chicago yesterday. The violence over the weekend was so bad that Mr. Matrix launched a preemptive strike yesterday morning because the shootings were that out of control in Chicago, and now the very early, what we like to call final numbers have come in, and guys, they got a lot worse. They got a lot worse. This was one of the more violent weekends in Chicago, and I want you to think about that a minute. In a already very progressive, violent area, this was one of the worst weekends, truly, that we've seen in a long time. We've got to be closing in on 400 deaths, 400 people shot fatally this year from January 1 to 8/21/2023. We've got to be getting dangerously close to 400. That 400 mark. And because I know we were at 372 maybe like 10 days ago, and there's been at least 7 more added to that. So we're closing in pretty fast to 400. Also, on a side note, and we will touch on this because, and John touched on it a little bit too, it's Brandon Johnson's first 100 days, and I want you to think about this. He is a radical progressive, okay? One could say more radically progressive than Lori Lightfoot. Of course, the woke trifecta, black, woman, lesbian, I mean, everything. The Brittany Griner trifecta, the Brittany Griner hat trick. But he's more radical than her. And to think that there are people in that city that I guess helped get him elected that believes this man is not progressively radical enough. It's baffling to me. I mean, some people just truly want to watch an area burn to the ground. And they want chaos. And they don't want any true law at all. They want everybody to just run amok, and of course in socialist fashion they want your shit to be their shit and vice versa, and everybody has this Marxist tribalistic way of living. That's not how America is. That's the problem. Okay, that's the problem for them. So they're always going to get opposition, and as well they should. So we're going to look at some of the comments from a radical progressive that somehow believes Brandon Johnson is not radically progressive enough. At least 38 shot, 7 fatally. That is up, I believe, 9 from yesterday morning. I mean, whoa. 38 people shot, 7 fatally across Chicago so far. This weekend, police said that's as of 5:30 this morning. A man was shot to death in his car early Sunday at a red light in River North. My God. 24-year-old was stopped at a light around 3:30 a.m. at 800 block of North Orleans Street when someone in a white SUV pulled up next to him and began shooting him. He suffered multiple gunshot wounds, taken to Northwestern Memorial, pronounced dead, no arrest. 2 Chicago public school students were gunned down this weekend. Wow. Athena Harshaw, every single time she leaves her home, she'll have to see the very spot where her 14-year-old nephew, Ray John, was found by a neighbor beside her home on Saturday night. They took him from this world because he was going to be somebody. He was only 14. He did make it to 16. He didn't do 18. He didn't go to college. He didn't get to walk in school. Ray John was a top student who loved to play basketball. Well, he's gone now. It's absolutely nuts. It truly is. Hours before that shooting, police said 2 teenagers were shot in North Austin Park. Ashantice Wilburn, 17, was killed. When I look back over her life, she was just starting her life, Patty Ringo, Ashantice's grandmother said. where are the mothers and the fathers? A lot of times it's grandmothers or aunts and uncles that are making comments on this stuff. Notice how a lot of time it's not the father, it's not the mother. Where are they at? I'd love to know. I wonder if that's part of the problem. A 16-year-old boy has died after he was shot Friday around 7:49 p.m. in the 4400 block of South Laverne on the city's southwest side. So that's just a few. And guys, we're talking there is a lot of 18, 19, 17, two 17-year-old boys were shot. They're listed in good condition. Oh, luckily they did not die. Wow. And this talks about his first 100 days in office, which we found out last week. I mean, from a criminal statistic, basically every criminal statistic that a mayor could have, Brandon Johnson compared to Lori Lightfoot. I did the video where it got worse. Everything is worse. Everything has gotten worse under Brandon Johnson. Clearly, controlling crime is not a priority. We know his comments that he got his feelings hurt because some people in the media and some citizens referred to a bunch of kids that ran amok and created a bunch of damage a couple of weekends ago. He got mad because they were referred to as the mob. The fact that you got mad about that in itself shows that your priorities are all bleeped up. They're all bleeped up, and you just don't care about crime because you are a radical progressive and you want to re-image the police. But for some people, believe it or not, he's not radically progressive enough, and this just tells you, I don't think it's ever going to get better up there. I mean, this seems to be what people want to vote for in this area. It's probably only going to get worse. I don't know that there will ever be an awakening up there among citizens where they're like, you know what, that's it. We're putting a conservative in office. We're putting conservatives in local offices around here. We're going to hammer down on crime. We're going to triple fund the police, quadruple fund the police to make our streets safe. I don't think, for some reason, the residents up there don't want to do that. You elect these people in. You're the ones that are ultimately to blame for every death that we go over and every person shot that we go over every single weekend. You guys do it to your own city. As long as you're willing to elect people like Lori Lightfoot and Brandon Johnson in the office, you're willing to go out there and pseudo pull the trigger yourself. I'm just keeping it real here. I mean, the definition of insanity is continuing to do the same thing over and over again, believe you're going to get a different result. Well, as long as you keep electing in these radical Democrats, you're going to get the same result, which is bloodshed. On Wednesday afternoon in early August, Chicago Alderman Nick Sposito, 38th Ward, had a bone to pick with Mayor Brandon Johnson. A self-characterized, quote, praise in public, scold in private politician, one of the city's most conservative council members, Sposito, texted the mayor that he needed to air a grievance about what he saw as Johnson's defense of a teenage gathering near downtown that turned violent. I just think that Johnson needs to get a little bit tougher on these kids with these flash mobs, Sposito said. So I texted him, and he called me back in like 30 seconds after I texted him about his comments. I mean, it was like I could talk to him. Okay, so we got a slightly conservative, he says, or they say. Now, I don't know about this particular website, WBEZ.org. It may be a radio station up there or news station. Fine, whatever. I don't really care. The point is, they're calling him one of the most conservative council members. Brandon Johnson actually had a conversation with him. However, the fact that he was willing to have a conversation with this conservative council member, this actually pissed off some radicals up there, believe it or not. And it's just sort of crazy that there are people that are more radical than Brandon Johnson in this area, and they're upset that his current trajectory as mayor is not radically progressive enough for them. Quote, the amount of excitement that people feel in the air, it's a remarkable testament to the new form of politics being the more prevailing form of governance, he said in an interview with WBEZ on Friday. And I guess we're talking about Johnson himself. We're bringing people together as the standard and not divisive nature that unfortunately has dogged us for too long in this city. With ongoing crises, with first budget season fast approaching, Johnson's first 3 months have left some supporters wanting more and wondering whether he will be as bold as his campaign suggested. Quote, he has a real opportunity to be a leader. Rebecca Williams, a strategist who worked to elect progressives in Chicago and Cook County, quote, he has a more cooperative city council than I think the last two mayors have. I don't think there's any reason that he shouldn't be able to be really bold in his leadership. Look, coming off of a campaign where he was painted as an anti-police defunder without enough experience to lead the city, Johnson has relied on veteran public safety officials, including Chief of Staff Rich Guidance and his interim police superintendent Fred Waller. He has been calculating in his comments on the police and has surprised some people in his relationship he has built with the police department. So people are mad that he has formed some kind of a relationship with the police. Period. Obviously, it's not good enough to get any change done in a positive direction. He's still a radical progressive, but there's people in the city, and this just goes to show you what people are voting for there, or that the people behind the scenes, there are people that want this to get worse. I believe there are people that would vote out any kind of law enforcement if they could. I really believe that. I do. I believe there are people that would vote that out. Cities like Chicago have police they leave. Why stay? You're not supported. You know, you had a DA there that wasn't willing to prosecute. And you've got Johnson, who's even worse than Lori Lightfoot. And there's statistics to back that. He's soft on crime. He's soft on criminals. He's worried about wording on things like the mob when it comes to teenagers. Yeah, they're children that's supposed to be somewhere, but this ain't, the good old boys playing down by the river. People get killed up in Chicago, right? But there are people up there that are still mad that he's not woke enough. He's not progressive enough. And they're saying they got him elected because he promised to do a bunch of more radical things up there. So that makes you wonder, is this going to get worse as he takes more heat? Right? This could get worse up there. I would expect it would, to be honest with you. There's no reason to think this is ever going to get any better. And as he gets more heat from these progressives that helped him get elected in, he's going to get more radical, and he's going to do things that are going to hurt that community up there. There's no way around it. This is what keeps getting voted in up there. First 100 days, all those stats that I went through in that video, every criminal stat has gotten worse than Lori Lightfoot's first 100 days. I mean, the unimaginable. But then again, it was unimaginable that you would get a chance to get somebody like Lightfoot out. And you could have elected in Willie Wilson, I believe, is a guy that comes to mind up there that was just a moderate. But we know he wanted to be very tough on crime. He was very clear about that. Nah, we're going to pass on him for a more radical progressive. And John talked about the 9 to 9 thing. I touched on it too. It's ludicrous. Let it be the purge between 9 p.m. and 9 a.m. Let's not hammer down on crime. Let's not create these task force. Let's not SWAT team it up. Let's not load up. Let's not go down the street with equipment that you know damn well the police force has got to show their presence, to drive up and down neighborhoods. Well, we're not going to give the funding to do that. We're not going to show ourselves. We're not going to kick down doors. And that's not the police fault, by the way. It's not. Those policemen up there want to be tough on crime. They don't get the backing from the mayors and the politicians to be able to do it, because they want to cater to people like these wannabe members of the squad, right? I mean, you ain't made it yet. You're not the Corey Bush and all those folks. You hadn't gotten to that point yet, but you strive to be. I don't know. It's crazy. It really is crazy that people keep voting this bullshit in. Tell me what you think, Black and White Network supporters. Brandon Johnson not radical enough, even though his first 100 days has been a nightmare, even though you just had another weekend that was shooting fish in a barrel, only out in the streets. Even though you got the most radically toughest gun laws in the country. Again, the gun laws don't work because criminals are criminals and they don't give a flip about your gun laws. I almost dropped the F-bomb right there. I mean, that was half flipped, half F-bomb come out of my mouth. Wow. Peace. I'm out. Till next time.